So it's just gonna be myself and my daughter because she joined me on the Barbenheimer.
I did join him on the Barbenheimer.
The Barbenheimer was very exciting. It was everything we had ever hoped for.
It was truly seamless.
Yes. I mean the movie. Well, I guess do we want to just dive into the Barbenheimer? Because we're going to be talking about Barbenheimer, then we'll talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer separately. Although they're like the same movie.
Same movie, except
they're really the same
Cillian
movie.
Murphy and Margot Robbie just like swap out roles.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Really, they're the same.
They're
actors,
really the
so
same.
I don't know how much it matters.
Movie. So I don't know why we would talk about them separately, but I guess we can. And then we'll talk about. I'll talk about some Witcher season 3 that that's come out so far. So the Barbenheimer was kind of just an amazing experience. 2 movies released on the same day, part of the same cinematic universe, of course. It was brilliant what they did with the Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer was it starts with Barben,
just loading up the picture. True. Thank you for going over how words work. That was amazing.
The term Barbenheimer actually refers to the act of setting pink dresses on hot air balloons that eventually explode when they are approximately 5,081 yards up into the sky. And
I will go with her read here.
I happen to know these things. I have my sources. Just don't ask me about them. I'm too tired. I can't remember.
All right. But yeah, I think how these movies link together is actually kind of brilliant because what happened was so Barbie is kind of really the beginning of the whole thing. It's there's a Barbie land and then there's like the real world. And what happens in Barbie land happens in the real world. So obviously when the Kens band together and do a revolt, that's Nazis.
Yeah, that is how that.
And that's how come. Born. And the way we dealt with it in the real world was Oppenheimer, where we built the bomb and we fought the Nazis. So they sing together extremely well.
Yes, they do.
Perfectly, seamlessly. And I think totally the movies are identical, really. No, I obviously we're being goofballs. These movies are so different. We didn't do like the Barbenheimer like one day. We pretty much because I worked the whole weekend, but yeah.
We did it across 2 days.
Yeah. But it was we'll go into individual thoughts of the movie. Overall, like these are both really good movies, but they're so different. I will say like essentially like the meme of Barbenheimer was kind of brilliant promotion almost.
Yes. I think that listen, a Christopher Nolan movie was always going to be popular, but I definitely think that it boosted it up a little bit higher just because Barbie's already everywhere,
That's the thing, like I didn't
Barbie ended up being more popular, so like I would not be surprised if that ended up doing kind of almost some promotion for Oppenheimer as well.
That's the thing, like usually when there's counter programming like this, it's like one or the other. Usually they're drastically different movies, obviously. Yes. And the idea is you do one for one demographic, one for another demographic. It's counter programming, lots of people go to the theater. And what kind of ended up happening with Barbenheimer is that like everybody said let's do both.
Yes.
Which is kind of amazing.
We never choose.
But yeah, so yeah, they're both brain farting. But yeah, that was kind of the brilliant thing. Like it just Barbenheimer became the meme and kind of brilliantly like the studios rolled with it and made this like an actual like packed like both showings, both when we went to Oppenheimer and Barbie were pretty packed. You had one empty seat next to you for Oppenheimer, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
I did not have an empty seat next to me. That was it. Like we were, other than that, like it was pretty packed for both movies. They were both very, very, very popular and kind of awesome. Like I said, I enjoyed both movies. I would say almost they're very similar in quality, but like so different, just so different tonally, obviously. But yeah, I thought it was brilliant how they kind of incorporated the whole like Barbenheimer into the promotional material, honestly, and they rolled with it. But yeah, it was it's a good. I don't know if it works as a double feature, frankly, but like they're both good movies. We saw one on Saturday and one on Sunday. I guess do we want to just roll into a normal Barbie review?
Sure, yeah, let's go.
I guess we just talk about these movies individually, even though they're tough to separate because they're so similar.
I mean, we're pretty much just going to be repeating ourselves, except we're going to have to, like, replace certain actors' names.
Yeah, they're like the same movie.
We're just going to have to, like, go through and post and edit out every time I say Margot Robbie is Cillian Murphy, and that's going to be the Oppenheimer section.
True. But, yeah, Barbie. So, like, going into the podcast, I try to plan it out a bit, and this week I'd put aside for Oppenheimer. I wasn't really planning to look into Barbie. Frankly, like, I wasn't super interested, except that Greta Gerwig was directing, and Greta Gerwig is a very good director, in my opinion, which was the only thing that really intrigued me about the movie. But, yeah, and then all of a sudden it seemed like this movie started getting a lot of hype, and it was like, oh, maybe we should do both Barbie and Oppenheimer. So that became the plan for the podcast.
Yeah, I was interested in it, but I was unsure.
Yeah, no.
I had my faith, but I was unsure.
Yeah, because well, I mean, it's a Barbie movie. It doesn't like automatically. It's not like brilliant idea, but it doesn't mean there's no potential in it either. No.
Well, you see the thing. The thing is that I think for the most part, whether or not something's like a brilliant idea is kind of iffy. Really, what went into this for me was Barbie is pretty much a blank slate. Like, yeah, we have things that go along with Barbie, and we have like an idea of Barbie, but we don't really have like a Barbie story for the most part, except that she has 5,000 jobs, Ken's her boyfriend, and she has family sometimes. And so when I saw that Greta Gerwig was doing it, I was like, cool. I like your palette.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you open up in Barbie Land, and pretty much all the girls in Barbie Land are Barbie, except they have different jobs.
Yes.
I believe the Margot Robbie Barbie, her job was stereotypical. I don't recall if they gave her a job or if she was just stereotypical Barbie.
No, she didn't have a job. She was just stereotypical Barbie, if I remember correctly. Unless, of course, her job is being stereotypical. But
I don't know how that's a job.
I mean, to be fair, Ken's job, I almost feel, is like more of a job.
True. And Ryan Gosling plays Ken, but he is Beach Ken.
He beaches.
Yeah, he beaches. They established that he's. Like there's all these Barbies. There's like Dr. Barbie, Lawyer Barbie, and then there's Beach Ken, and he beaches. And it's like, are you like a lifeguard? He's like, no.
He stands on the beach.
I mean, yeah, and that's actually something this movie explores. I actually really like because, as you might expect, like in the Barbie world, like there's less Kens, and Ken's purpose is to pretty much be Barbie's accessory.
Yeah.
So he just kind of there
reflects certain things in our world, as all of the Barbies have all of the jobs and stuff, and the Kens exist in association to the Barbies, occupying such important jobs, such as standing on a beach.
Yes.
You see, you can make a comparison between this and misogyny in our world to some extent. And you can and you should, because that is to some extent what the movie does, although it plays around for a bit more than that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Definitely.
So like, the whole Barbie universe is definitely Barbie-driven.
It's a matriarchy.
Oh, my God. It's so sexist. No, the number of people got triggered over this were kind of funny. And there's a degree it was forced. It's why, like, Dane and I are going to do a little bit of initiative this Wednesday, even though we were originally planning to take it off, but we were like, we're going to go ahead and cover this because this is weird, the reaction of this, and like a bunch of conservative middle-aged men going to see Barbie and then getting offended by it. I'm like, of course you weren't going to like it. What are you doing?
You see, if you're out of the loop, people think that Ken is like too feminine and and like a famous example of like being like anti like men or whatever, like he's like a simp or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into too much details, but let's just say that I actually think that while at the end of the day they do have, and like, yes, Ken is the gag of a lot of jokes, especially at the beginning, and really throughout for the most part. But at the end of the day, they do try to look at him sympathetically. A lot of people try and argue that this movie is anti-man, but I actually, you see, this movie is it's about kind of like feminism and the patriarchy, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, well, I mean,
suppose you could say. I say as though that isn't like explicitly what the movie's about. But
well, I mean, I mean, the movie is about like, I mean, if we get down to the whole themes, it's about individuality and discovering who you are.
Yes.
Most importantly.
Yes. It also talks about other things. Though.
Yeah, I mean, well, and like, okay, so like one of the Barbies here is apparently played by a trans actress. That's getting a lot of people offended.
And I'm mad.
Fun fact: the character, it's not like a character's trans; it's a Barbie. It's a doll. I didn't know they were trans until later. There's lots of little things about this movie that seem to be triggering people, and I don't understand it. Like,
it's
like, listen, this movie has a good message about how essentially you should discover yourself and be comfortable with yourself, be happy with yourself. That's the message of this whole movie. And the fact that so many people are getting offended by it it's weird. It's weird the backlash to this movie.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we're discussing something that shouldn't be like remotely controversial.
No,
like on any level. Like we can talk about this on the level that you're talking about, with like the core message being like you should discover yourself and like you should know who you are outside of other people.
Yeah,
which is definitely a big part of this movie. Or we could talk about it with the more upfront story, which is about feminism and the patriarchy, or I guess even the more upfront story where it's about a bunch of dolls walking around.
Yeah,
but I feel like on none of these levels should this be considered to be a remotely controversial movie, but yet it is.
Yeah,
I think
for some reason.
There are certain people out there. I will not be continuing that sentence.
Yeah, there are certain people out there. I haven't gone over any of the videos yet. I know Ben Shapiro's done like a 45-minute one, and almost all the usual suspects have panned this movie. I'm here to tell you this movie's fun. I enjoyed it. It's pretty damn good. Frankly, it's a good message for kids, and I don't know why people are so offended by it.
I mean, I don't think that like 7-year-olds were their target audience, but
no.
like I think if you showed it to 7-year-olds, they would probably still get like the message of like accepting yourself as a person.
Yeah, I mean it's still bright and colorful. Yeah,
it's because that's still out there. There's plenty of other stuff that they might not understand until they get older, or they might understand it now. I don't know what your 7-year-old's like, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to cause any harm to your child.
No. Well, I mean, maybe your mind was. I want the audience to understand her mind was warped going in. There was no saving her. It was a lost cause.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe when maybe when we like watch it at home someday in the future, Evan's gonna see it and he's gonna be like, "Oh no." That Ken is not very is not very.
Dusty here brings up a good point because the politics of Oppenheimer are very interesting, and we'll get into those when we talk about Oppenheimer. But yes, the politics and themes of Oppenheimer are much more overt, and they definitely have something to say. Barbie is just kind of a fun, colorful movie that says be yourself and be happy. And yes, it does play with the patriarchy because, apparently people are offended because in the real world of this movie, it is a patriarchy. It is in real life. So
I don't know what world you live in. Can you please transport me? Beam me over.
And then the flip of that is Barbie Land, which is clearly established to be a matriarchy. And then like, Ken is kind of set up to be the villain towards the end, where he kind of takes over Barbie Land. But like people seem to think, we're supposed to hate Ken, and actually, no, we're not supposed to hate Ken. Ken is just figuring out his place in the world, and that's part of what the story is about.
Yes.
Ken, I actually thought Ken was entertaining.
Yeah, I thought that Ken was entertaining for the most part, and they tried to, they made him a sympathetic character.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
people saying that Ken being an example of like people hating men is just, it's just media illiterate. Like, did you watch how they handled Ken? Like, I know that he's the butt of the joke a lot,
Mhm.
but like he was still, at the end of the day, he was I forgot what words are.
Mhm.
He is a sympathetic character. I mean, they talk about him, and the whole reason he does all of these things is just because he doesn't know like who he is, like out of like
Yeah.
not in
Well,
relation to Barbie.
I mean, they talk about, like, I did see people criticizing the Ken character for being low T, and it's like, yes.
He tries so hard to be high T, though.
Yeah, he does. He tries over hard to be a high T, but like that's the point. Ken has always been an accessory, and part of the point of this is that Ken needs to find out who he is without Barbie. Because like throughout the whole movie, he is desperate to hook up with stereotypical Barbie, and she's kind of not interested. But like that's all he knows. It's just I got to hook up with Barbie, and that's it. And it's about him breaking that, and it's also about her. Like she also kind of has to figure out that like, oh, I was kind of a dick to him too.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't have been so much of a dick to him. And also he needs to figure out how to be himself without like getting like so wrapped up over her. It's just these are just in general decent moral lessons, and the fact that people are offended by them and are so triggered by them is a little scary. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is a good, colorful, fun movie. They're like we're going into lots of the deeper themes and stuff like that. This is primarily a comedy too. There's quite
Yeah,
a
it
few
is.
moments that had me chuckling quite a bit.
Yeah, we were having a good time in the theater. I'm not used to chuckling that much at movies and
Yeah,
theaters.
I mean, just to give you an idea, they go to the real world, and one of the first things she does is like, there's too many man energy in here. I need some Barbie energy. So she goes to a construction site. She's like, "Where's the Barbies?"
Well, I want to say she was saying like I need to go and I need to find like some girl power somewhere.
Yeah.
Where better than the construction site?
yeah. It's like
I remember. I just remember when they look up at that billboard and it's like 6 women in like bikinis or something, and they go, "Oh my goodness, it's the Supreme Court."
Yes,
They're so smart.
But yeah, it's a good movie. Solid, worth checking out. Anything you want to add before we go into our Oppenheimer?
I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah, it's a fun one. Oppenheimer's not as like it's not as much fun, but it's really good. Like this is pure Christopher Nolan. He directs the hell out of this, and I think Patrick Williams recently did a video talking about how like Tenet was kind of a vibes movie, and you could argue this was almost a vibes movie as well, because there's a lot of this movie that's more about like momentum and just like feeling it than actually like necessarily engaging with everything.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like this story is way easier. Like Tenet, like you had to watch, I feel, at least twice to get the full impact of that story.
Yeah.
This one's right out there.
I feel like I understood this movie. I noticed one thing though that I enjoyed about this is, so obviously we talk a lot about quantum physics in this movie, but because Christopher Nolan knows that we don't know anything about quantum physics, they used like images and like very like intense like sound and stuff to almost get you to like understand and be able to visualize what they're talking about. And I thought that worked pretty well.
Yeah.
So suddenly I know everything about quantum physics.
Yeah, I purely understand quantum physics.
Yes.
Now I think it's worth noting there is a very strong political angle in this.
Yes.
Because a lot of this movie, like this movie is it sets up Oppenheimer to be kind of like a newer, like modern, like obviously it's not a modern movie set in modern time, but like a more modern version of Prometheus, where like he gives him the atomic weapon and then he gets persecuted. However, the movie doesn't make any qualms about it. The reasons he's persecuted is essentially he's a left-winger who's persecuted by a right-wing mob in this movie.
Yeah.
It says that very explicitly. And I think it's interesting how, like, all the usual suspects are getting so triggered by Barbie, but they're ignoring the clear political message in this one, because this one doesn't even hide its politics. It says them right up front.
Hidden by man.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they cast a woman to star as Barbie.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the only reason I can think of why they're charging after Barbie and ignoring the clear politics of this movie is because it is mostly white men in this movie.
It is mostly white men.
It's
That
dominated
is
by white men.
I was noticing that while I was watching it. I was like, huh. There are not a whole lot of women in this story.
Yeah,
that do not end up kissing Cillian Murphy.
There's the girlfriend. There's the one wife who I don't know if she had any lines. There's
I want to say there's
his wife students. Who's Emily Blunt, who's definitely the biggest one. Yeah, there's a couple students, and then there's the scientist. But like everyone else is like a white guy in this one. But I mean, that's probably historically accurate. So I'm not really going
historically accurate.
Like, I'm not mad at it, but like, I'm just trying to think of like this movie that clearly has its politics like right out there. It's not hiding them at all. Is not getting any attention from the usual suspects. However, Barbie is, which is, I just find it so goddamn interesting that that's the way it's turning out.
I can't believe that they feminized Barbie.
Yeah, it's like, that's the biggest thing. It's like, okay, so like Barbie stars a woman and it's making money, so now we have to go after it. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I think that is what it is, actually.
Yeah, it's so simple. Like, yeah, this is like, again, like, I guess get back to actual like what Oppenheimer's about instead of just the things around it.
Let's talk about Oppenheimer. Let's talk about Oppenheimer.
So, one thing I did notice, there's like titles at the beginning of the movie. I forgot to look up what the titles mean, but I kind of assumed that one title is like leading up to the events, and the other one's concluding the events. But but I will tell you, there's color sections of this movie, and there's black and white sections of this movie,
and they're done by perspective.
Yeah. Yes. You noticed that?
Yes. You see, I listen. I have been actively watching movies with you for most of my life. I know what visual cues are.
Yeah.
From the second they started switching in between them, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out what this means. I'm gonna keep on watching and I'm gonna analyze this until I figure out what this means. And it was perspective.
Yes. So color sections, which is most of the movie. I'd say at least 80-85% of the movie is color. And that is from Oppenheimer's perspective. And then the black and white is from Strauss's perspective, Robert Downey Jr.'s character in this movie.
Yes.
Who is, at first it's kind of set up that, like, he seems like he's kind of friendly to Oppenheimer and he's dealing with a lot of stuff.
You know.
Spoiler, he's a jerk.
He sucks.
He's a giant
He's like,
jerk.
Listen, this guy, I feel like maybe he might be the reason why some scientists don't like me. And I don't know this for a fact, but I have like this feeling in my gut. I heard that he used to hang out with some communists back in the day. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get him for this one.
Yeah.
That's pretty much his thing.
What's the thing? Like, Oppenheimer, like, the whole movie is set up like the character of Oppenheimer is, he's never a member of a communist party, but like he's friends with a ton of communists. He has left-wing politics. He was trying to unionize the professors at his college campus, and that was getting all types of people upset. And then and essentially, like, when he got involved with the Manhattan Project and became the director, he started bringing in a whole bunch of scientists who, of course, had to leave the Communist Party to get involved. So, of course, we have a whole bunch of ex-communists that happened to leave to get involved with that project.
Yeah.
So, it feels a lot like the theme of this movie is left-wingers save the world and right-wingers persecute them for it. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what it feels like.
I know the one thing that I was... The thing that I thought would kind of make or break this movie for me was, of course, how they handle the atomic bomb. Because, you see, the atomic bomb is one of those things where, like, we don't know how long World War II would have lasted if we didn't bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but we did bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
We did?
You know,
I didn't hear about that.
We need to kind of weigh both of those things there, you know? Mm-hmm. Because, like... we don't know how long the war would have lasted, and that did pretty much end the war, at least for us. But, you know, a bunch of people did die. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of have to weigh both of those things.
Yeah. It was just got real serious.
I'm always, you
There.
see, I'm always serious.
Oh, no.
Huh.
No, it's just like, yeah, no, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were tragic events
Yes,
that ended World War
absolutely.
II, which is essentially why they were done. So it was a yeah, it was it deals with that quite a bit. Like it's like Oppenheimer is someone who supports dropping the bombs. Um and he explains why he supports it, but like there's lots of scientists who are against it because it's like it's fucked up. And there's even the theory that like the bombs will destroy the world. And it's like it seems pretty low, but maybe.
Quantum physics can be funny
hmm
sometimes.
But yeah, this is a really really well done movie.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours long. Doesn't really feel it though.
Hmm.
It's not Barbie though. It's not the same thing.
Are you
So
sure about that?
I'm fairly confident it's not the same thing. It's really well done Christopher Nolan movie about the creation of the atomic bomb, and he knocks it out of the park. He does a great job. Um, I guess I don't have much to say outside of that, other than I just think it's interesting how this movie is so overtly political, and like none of the usual suspects care about it because Barbie is making a lot of money and it stars a woman and is directed by a woman, so we gotta get mad at that one, right?
Yeah. It's like, listen, it's not to say that Barbie doesn't hold like any political thing in it, but like,
Well, at this rate, they're making everything political, so I feel like
yeah, but like, Oppenheimer had a lot of communists in it, and you'd think they'd want to go after the communists because
Mm.
that's what they tend to often do. That's like one
Mhm.
of their main insults, even though I doubt a lot of them know what the word communist means, but that's for another day. I mean, I guess we can talk about like we can kind of go back around and talk about like our overall thoughts about like Barbenheimer again.
Well, I
Say
mean,
anything you didn't say
I
before.
mean, we can hit up on that one right now. Like, what were your overall thoughts?
Overall thoughts, both good. Both
Yeah.
good, but they are for different circumstances. They are both very good movies. But you see, the thing is that they're so similar that I simply cannot pick a favorite because they're practically the same movie.
Well, I mean,
However, I will tell you that in my day-to-day life, I think I will probably end up watching Barbie more because you could turn Barbie on at probably any point, and it would just kind of work. Whereas Oppenheimer, I feel like I need to be in like a specific mood for that, Not to say that I wouldn't like still like enjoy it at other times, but like there would probably be more situations where I'd be sitting around and I'd be like, yeah, let's watch Barbie. Then I'd
mhm,
be like, yeah, let's watch Oppenheimer.
mhm. True. Yeah, no, I see myself watching Barbie more, and that's like, what does that necessarily make it better? I don't know about that because Oppenheimer is a really well done, really like thoughtful movie. Um, just how Nolan handles the whole story is really fantastic. I mean, Nolan's just become like a masterclass director, and it's one of those things. Also, I love his Dark Knight movies, but like I feel like visually those movies weren't quite there, and I feel like with this one visually it's there. He's just getting, in my opinion, better at his craft. I wouldn't call this his best movie, but I feel like he's evolving as a director as we go. Um, and he really handles this extremely well. Really good movie. Barbie is fantastic as well. Like I said, I don't know which one I like better than that. That means a lot. Like obviously Oppenheimer is the more, well, I want to say Oppenheimer is the more artistic one, but there's artistic value to Barbie too, but it's more of a silly movie, but it's well done silly. So it gets tricky. It really gets tricky, but they're both really good movies and they're worth checking out.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.